I personally even experienced watching public execution.
For decades, the inner workings of the most secretive regime on the planet have been shrouded in mystery.
I was only 11 around, but specifically told all children come out, sit at the front of the crowd.
North Korea, a land where every smile is rehearsed, every word is watched, and every move is monitored. To the outside world, it's a nation draped in propaganda and fear. But what happens behind the fortified walls of its palaces, where loyalty isn't just demanded, it's enforced at the cost of your life? Join us as we unravel this never-heard-before story and find out who is finally breaking his silence and sending shockwaves across the world. Inside the Supreme Guard Command. Kim Jong-un, like his father Kim Jong-il and grandfather Kim Il-sung before him, has maintained a tight and unyielding grip on power in North Korea. To protect his rule and ensure no one dares to challenge him, Kim Jong-un relies on one of the most secretive and powerful organizations in the country, the Supreme Guard Command. This elite security force, created by his father after several attempts on Kim Jong-il's life, plays a crucial role in Kim Jong-un's continued reign. It is a force unlike any other, combining personal protection, military strength, and a web of surveillance to safeguard the leader's life and authority. The Supreme Guard Command, also known as the General Guard Bureau, is the equivalent of a combination of the US Secret Service and a military defense force, but with far more reach and influence. The command is tasked with ensuring the safety of Kim Jong-un, his family, and the highest-ranking officials in North Korea. With a personnel count ranging from 95,000 to 100,000, the Guard Command is a vast organization that operates with absolute loyalty to the Kim family. Its presence is felt across the entire country, from combat brigades stationed at Kim Jong-un's residences to specialized units watching over the capital, Pyongyang, and other key areas of the nation. The Guard Command's most important job is to protect Kim Jong-un. It maintains several close protection units, including highly trained bodyguards who follow Kim Jong-un wherever he goes, ensuring his safety at all times. These units are also responsible for his transport, medical care, and logistical needs. In a country where the leader's safety is everything, these officers are trusted with the most critical task, ensuring that nothing disrupts Kim Jong-un's rule. Their vigilance extends beyond physical protection, as the Guard Command is also deeply involved in monitoring communications, surveilling any potential threats, and controlling the movement of people within the elite circles of North Korean politics. Beyond bodyguards, the Guard Command is responsible for protecting North Korea's most vital infrastructure. It guards government buildings, military factories, and key sites that would be essential to maintaining the regime's power. It also oversees the transportation systems that Kim Jong-un uses, including the railways and roads, which are secured and monitored by a special group of security officers. This level of control ensures that no one can infiltrate the leader's inner circle or disrupt his operations. The Guard Command is not just a security force, it is also a powerful intelligence organization. It keeps a watchful eye over North Korea's political and military elites, ensuring that no one rises to challenge Kim Jong-un. The command is actively involved in monitoring all forms of communication within the leadership, including phone calls, emails, and other forms of electronic communication. This constant surveillance keeps Kim Jong-un's enemies close, making sure that potential threats are neutralized before they can strike. The equipment at the Supreme Guard Command's disposal is as formidable as its mission. The command is armed with advanced weapon systems, including anti-aircraft artillery, tanks, helicopters, and armored vehicles. These assets are essential for protecting Kim Jong-un from both external and internal threats. The command also controls various vehicles, such as armored buses and luxury cars, ensuring that the leader's transportation is always secure. This arsenal of weaponry, combined with the command's ability to control vital infrastructure, makes the Supreme Guard Command an indomitable force. The Supreme Guard Command is organized into several specialized departments. The number 1 department, for example, is responsible for Kim Jong-un's close protection, transportation, and medical care. It is also tasked with ensuring the leader's logistical needs are met, from ensuring secure communication lines to organizing the delivery of documents. The number 2 department provides similar services for senior government officials and other members of the Kim family, including Kim Jong-un's aunt, Kim Kyung-hwa, and his uncle, Jang Song-taek. This structure allows Kim Jong-un to keep a close eye on both his family's safety and the protection of those who are crucial to the regime's continued power. As the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un is constantly surrounded by this powerful network of security and intelligence. The Supreme Guard Command reports directly to him through the ruling party's administration department, ensuring that his safety is always a top priority. Under the leadership of General Yoon Jong-rin, the Supreme Guard Command continues to evolve and adapt to new threats, making sure that no one can breach the regime's defenses. Behind the impenetrable wall of security provided by the Supreme Guard Command lies a selection process as uncompromising as the regime it protects. A defector from the Guard Command revealed the grueling selection process. The grueling path, the Supreme Guard Command. Becoming part of Kim Jong-un's Supreme Guard Command is a rigorous and demanding journey, requiring not only skill and ability, but significant personal sacrifice. The process begins early, with recruiters scouting high schools for potential candidates. Students are lined up for inspection, and only those meeting strict physical standards, such as having no facial scars and a well-proportioned body, are considered. However, the selection doesn't end there. Each candidate's family history is thoroughly examined to ensure unwavering loyalty to the Workers' Party of Korea. The competition is intense. Department 5, the unit responsible for selecting recruits, receives recommendations from provincial party offices, which gather names from city and county committees. Of the many teenagers nominated, only about 1 in 100 makes it past the initial screening to be trained for the Supreme Guard Command. Boys who succeed are assigned to the Guard, while girls are often sent to serve in guest lodges or vacation homes for North Korea's leaders. Once a candidate is selected, their life undergoes a dramatic shift. The local party committee manages them until they begin formal training in Pyongyang. If a recruit falls ill before starting training, they are immediately removed from the program and replaced. Upon admission, candidates are assigned an identification number and all prior records are erased, and only one person per family is permitted to serve. This isolation from loved ones has been a hallmark of service in the Supreme Guard Command since the era of Kim Il-sung. Recruits live entirely cut off from their families, without vacations or outings. The training itself is grueling and lasts for 2 years, beginning with 6 months in specialized camps. Recruits undergo intense physical conditioning, including taekwondo lessons, marksmanship training, 25-kilometer marches in full gear, and special operations tactics. A 300-page manual detailing past security incidents serves as a guide for their preparation. The goal is to create individuals capable of operating under extreme pressure, ensuring the absolute safety of North Korea's leader. This life of isolation and relentless discipline comes with certain privileges, such as financial rewards and elevated status. However, it also demands total allegiance and the forfeiture of personal freedom. The pressure to perform is immense, with no room for error. Recruits are expected to maintain a flawless image and uphold the mystique of the regime at all times. In recent years, the appeal of joining the Supreme Guard Command has diminished. Under Kim Jong-un's rule, many young people no longer see the role as glamorous. The isolation, harsh training, and lack of personal freedom deter potential candidates, making recruitment increasingly difficult. To counter this, local party committees have started selecting high school juniors to groom them for the role, ensuring a steady flow of candidates. Even so, finding recruits who are both physically perfect and politically loyal remains a challenge. If you think the physical demands are the toughest part of the training, think again. There's a psychological element that is just as intense. Brainwashing and devotion. Alongside grueling endurance exercises, martial arts, and tactical drills that the recruits of the Supreme Guard Command go through, there's a deeply insidious element: brainwashing. In North Korea, the government controls every aspect of life, and propaganda is everywhere. From television broadcasts to schools, homes, and workplaces, the regime's message is impossible to escape. It is a system designed to shape and control the thoughts of every individual. The Kim family is not simply viewed as leaders. They are regarded as godlike figures, elevated to a divine status. Their portraits are displayed in every public space, workplace, and school, and North Koreans are required to hang these images in their homes in a prominent place. This is not a matter of personal choice, but an enforced rule. Failing to treat these portraits with the utmost respect can lead to severe punishments, including hard labor in brutal camps. There is a story of a woman who was arrested after saving her children from a fire because she did not prioritize rescuing the portraits of the Kim family. This expectation shows the extreme devotion demanded by the regime. Lee Young-guk, a former bodyguard of Kim Jong-il, who later defected, has spoken about his experiences, revealing the extent of the brainwashing. A significant part of his training focused on instilling ideological loyalty. As a bodyguard, his role was not just to protect Kim Jong-il, but to worship him as a divine figure. Lee and his fellow bodyguards were taught to believe that Kim Jong-il was more than a man. He was a god whose safety was more important than anything else. This conditioning made them feel that their lives were without value if they did not serve and protect their leader. This process of brainwashing begins long before individuals are selected to become bodyguards. From a young age, North Korean children are taught that the Kim family is all-powerful and destined to rule. This belief is reinforced throughout their education and everyday lives. By the time young men are chosen for bodyguard training, they have already been exposed to years of propaganda, making it easier for the regime to mold them into unquestioning protectors. Lee described how recruits like him were filled with enthusiasm for their mission. They believed their purpose was sacred, not merely a job, but a profound responsibility. The constant reinforcement of this ideology during training left no room for doubt or hesitation. Protecting Kim Jong-il was seen as the ultimate honor, and sacrificing one's life for him was considered a privilege rather than a loss. The brainwashing served multiple purposes. It ensured that bodyguards would act without hesitation, even if it meant giving their lives. Through propaganda, they were made to feel part of a larger, divine cause, elevating their role to something far greater than themselves. This sense of purpose further solidified their loyalty. Additionally, the regime isolated them from any outside influences that could challenge their beliefs, maintaining their unwavering dedication to the leader. This level of control over the bodyguards mirrors the larger system in North Korea, where the government's influence is absolute. The population is surrounded by propaganda that enforces loyalty and devotion to the Kim family. For the bodyguards, the intensity of this control is even greater. They are not just protectors, but instruments of the regime, conditioned to believe in the divinity of their leader and the righteousness of their mission. This intense level of control and loyalty demanded of the bodyguards often leads to dire consequences for those who fail to comply. Living in fear. Lee Young-guk, who had served as a bodyguard for the Kim family, knew that even the smallest mistake could lead to disaster, not only for him, but also for his loved ones. The job came with intense psychological strain, and the bodyguards lived in constant fear of failure. The physical risks were undeniable. North Korea's authoritarian government made the Kim family a target for both internal and external threats. Countries like South Korea, with whom North Korea shares a tense relationship, posed a constant danger. The bodyguards were always briefed on potential assassination attempts, whether they were real threats or just rumors. They had to stay alert at all times, prepared for the worst. But the challenges didn't end with the external dangers. The bodyguards were also under constant surveillance by the regime, which was paranoid about potential disloyalty. There was no room for mistakes, and any sign of betrayal could lead to severe punishment. This atmosphere of mistrust made it impossible to form meaningful relationships. Lee Young-guk shared how he and his fellow bodyguards couldn't even trust each other. They were encouraged to report on each other, no matter how small the infraction. This constant fear of being watched created a cold and hostile environment where trust was rare. Lee Young-guk had been loyal to the regime for many years, even before Kim Jong-il officially took control of the country. From 1978 to 1988, he served as a personal bodyguard to Kim Jong-il, the heir to North Korea's throne. Even after his time as a bodyguard, Lee Young-guk remained committed to the regime, later working as a military advisor. But after decades of living under the constant pressure of North Korean life, Lee Young-guk began to feel trapped. In 1994, after years of serving the regime, Lee Young-guk decided he couldn't take it any longer. He planned to escape. But escaping North Korea is nearly impossible, especially for someone in his position. The regime's surveillance was so tight that even the smallest attempt to leave could result in capture. Lee Young-guk's first escape attempt failed, and he was caught before he could flee. Despite his years of loyalty, the regime had been watching him closely and didn't hesitate to stop him. However, Lee Young-guk's failed escape was only the beginning of his nightmare. After being caught, he was subjected to the harsh punishments of North Korea's political prison system. He was sent to the infamous Yodok political prison camp located in South Hamgyong province. Yodok, also known as Camp 15, is one of the most notorious labor camps in North Korea, known for its cruelty and inhumane conditions. The regime uses these camps to imprison those they consider enemies of the state, often without trial and sometimes after extracting confessions through torture. The conditions at Yodok were brutal. Prisoners were forced to endure hard labor, starvation, and physical abuse. The regime didn't just punish those who tried to escape, it also punished their families. Anyone with even a distant connection to someone deemed a traitor would face harsh consequences as well. In Lee Young-guk's case, his escape attempt was seen as a betrayal of the Kim regime. The punishment for such an act was severe. imprisonment, torture, and in many cases, execution. Lee Young-guk's time in Yodok was a reminder of the extreme measures the North Korean government takes to maintain control. The regime's paranoia and strict loyalty to the Kim family made it nearly impossible for anyone, even high-ranking officials like Lee Young-guk, to live freely. For Lee Young-guk, the pressure of protecting the supreme leader, coupled with constant surveillance and fear of punishment, eventually pushed him to the breaking point. Despite being captured and tortured, Lee Young-guk refused to break. He hatched a daring new escape plan, and this time he succeeded, revealing his harrowing story to the world. A tale of torture, starvation, and survival. After finally escaping to South Korea, Lee Young-guk shared his experiences from his 5 years in the infamous Yodok prison camp. The scars on his body, a painful reminder of the brutal treatment he endured, tell only part of the story. Lee Young-guk showed his legs, which were covered in dozens of deep purple marks, evidence of the countless beatings he received from guards wielding sticks and rifles. His teeth were barely recognizable, reduced to just 5 or 6 cracked, worn-down remnants from the violent punches and rifle strikes that also caused him to lose vision in one eye. But the physical torture was just the beginning. He described the camp's living conditions as horrifying. When he first entered, he thought the other prisoners looked like walking skeletons. He quickly realized he was headed in the same direction. The prisoners were severely malnourished, with the guards barely providing enough food to survive. After enduring hours of grueling physical labor, the few scraps of food they received were often their only nourishment. This constant lack of food led to the prisoners' bodies deteriorating. Lee Young-guk himself lost nearly half his body weight, his body becoming gaunt and fragile as he withered away from hunger. The pain and starvation were relentless. As the days dragged on, the prisoners' bodies shrank, their faces and limbs growing thin and skeletal. The guards' cruelty only intensified the suffering. They would order prisoners to work long hours under the hot sun, often leaving them too weak to move. The brutality was endless, and Lee Young-guk's time at Yodok left deep, permanent marks on his body and soul. But perhaps the most chilling part of his story was the flower garden at Yodok, a place with a name that couldn't be further from the truth. The so-called garden was actually a mass grave, where the bodies of dead prisoners were discarded. Lee Young-guk had the gruesome task of carrying the bodies of those who had died, some of them still leaking bodily fluids, and burying them in the garden. The mass grave contained tens of thousands of bodies, a stark reminder of the countless lives lost to the horrors of the camp. Lee Young-guk's testimony reveals the unimaginable horrors of North Korea's prison camps, where cruelty and dehumanization prevail. Men and women endure equally horrific conditions, treated worse than animals, with physical and emotional scars that never heal. The memories of these brutalities linger, casting a shadow of despair and anger over survivors' lives. In the camps, public executions occur every 15 days, forcing prisoners to witness these gruesome spectacles at close range. Blood spills as bodies are violently torn apart, creating scenes of unimaginable carnage. Death by hanging becomes a grotesque ritual, with thousands of prisoners gathered to watch the condemned endure unspeakable violence before their final moments. Despite the immense suffering he endured, Lee Young-guk's story didn't end in the prison camp. After 5 years, he was released, a reward for his good behavior, but the trauma lingered. The physical and emotional scars remained, affecting him long after his release. In 2000, he found a new life in South Korea, where he reunited with his family and began working as a duck farmer. It was a far cry from the powerful position he once held, but it offered him a chance to start fresh. Lee Young-guk also wrote a book about his time in North Korea, sharing the shocking details of the brutality he witnessed. One of the most unsettling parts of his story was his proximity to the Kim family. As a former bodyguard and military advisor, he had access to North Korea's highest leadership, including Kim Jong-il and his son Kim Jong-un. His first-hand experiences provided a disturbing insight into the true nature of the Kim regime and the chilling reality behind the closed doors of the North Korean government. Behind the mask. Serving as a close bodyguard to Kim Jong-il, Lee Young-guk was trained from a young age to view the Kim family as divine figures. The regime's brainwashing made him believe that his sole purpose in life was to protect the dear leader and serve the Kim family without question. But as Lee Young-guk grew older and experienced the brutal reality of life inside the regime, he began to understand the terrifying truth behind the facade of power. Kim Jong-il, known for his ruthless and paranoid leadership, was a man who demanded absolute loyalty from everyone around him. He surrounded himself with security and trusted very few people. Lee Young-guk's role in the Supreme Guard Command was marked by constant fear and tension. Adding to the tension was Kim Jong-il's unpredictable mood swings. This volatility created an environment of fear and uncertainty. Lee Young-guk shared an example of how Kim Jong-il's arrival would send his high-ranking advisors scrambling to avoid him. These were men in their 60s and 70s, powerful figures in the North Korean military and political system. Yet they would throw themselves onto the ground, hiding in the grass. They didn't know whether Kim Jong-il would be in a good mood or an angry one, but either way, it was dangerous. Even if he was in a good mood, his temper could erupt without warning. He could execute someone on the spot for the smallest offense, or he could show mercy and kindness. No one knew what to expect, and this unpredictability was a constant source of terror. Lee Young-guk revealed that the slightest mistakes, such as using the wrong elevator or standing out of place, could result in brutal punishment. In one instance, a senior official used Kim Jong-il's private elevator and was sent to a concentration camp, where he eventually died. This harsh reality taught Lee Young-guk that no one, not even the most high-ranking officials, was safe from Kim Jong-il's cruelty. It was a regime built on fear, where any misstep could lead to death. However, it wasn't until after his defection that Lee Young-guk fully understood the extent of the Kim family's brutality. Kim Jong-il's son, Kim Jong-un, proved to be even more ruthless and paranoid than his father. Kim Jong-un ruled with an even greater sense of insecurity. He constantly felt the need to prove himself and solidify his power. This made him more dangerous, as he was willing to do whatever it took to maintain control over the country, even if it meant eliminating anyone who posed a threat, no matter how small. Lee Young-guk described Kim Jong-un as a ruler who operated with an iron fist, but with a constant undercurrent of fear. His paranoia drove him to eliminate potential rivals, including his own family members. Kim Jong-un's older brother, Kim Jong-nam, had been groomed to take over the leadership role, but after his assassination in 2017, Kim Jong-un's position was solidified. This marked a shift in the regime, as the third generation of the Kim family took power, and with it came an even more extreme form of leadership. Lee Young-guk saw firsthand how the brutality of the regime only grew under Kim Jong-un's rule, with the leadership becoming more authoritarian and repressive. Lee Young-guk's escape from North Korea was a turning point in his life, and his revelations about the brutality of the regime and the luxurious life of the Kims have shocked the world. Luxury amid suffering. The private lives of North Korea's dictators, as revealed by Lee Young-guk, are shocking and hard to imagine. For 3 generations, the Kim family, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un, have ruled North Korea with absolute power. They created a system unlike any other, where the rulers live in luxury while most people suffer in poverty and fear. Kim Jong-un, the current leader, is seen as the worst of them all. In the 21st century, he still runs brutal camps where political prisoners are forced to work until they die. While his people struggle to survive, Kim Jong-un lives a life of unbelievable luxury. He has built 14 massive vacation homes across the country, each more than twice the size of a golf course. These homes have enormous swimming pools that can be filled with water from the sea or mountains, depending on Kim's mood. The pools are always kept warm, at 25 degrees Celsius, and Kim often spends his time swimming or relaxing with groups of girls. Some pools even have artificial waterfalls, making them look like paradise. Kim uses different vacation homes throughout the year. At some, he goes hunting and shoots hundreds of animals in a single night just for fun. At others, he enjoys private fishing areas where fish are made to appear within seconds for his entertainment. These homes are designed to meet his every whim, no matter how strange or expensive. While Kim enjoys this luxury, his people face terrible hardships. Many live in fear of being sent to prison camps, where conditions are so harsh that survival is almost impossible. These camps are used to punish anyone who dares to disagree with him. Kim Jong-un's lifestyle shows a shocking divide between him and his people. He spends millions on his pleasure, building lavish homes and facilities for himself, while ordinary North Koreans struggle to find food or live in constant fear. His rule is a reminder of how unchecked power can lead to extreme inequality and suffering. What lessons can the world learn from Lee Young-guk's story about the dangers of totalitarian regimes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.